12:30 p.m. to 1 p.m. EST on Volley 92.3 FM.
Overpriced, overwhelmed, over it. Are you feeling some of the frustrations and desperation as a home buyer, seller, investor? Well, we'd love to hear from you and guide you on this journey. Good afternoon, listeners. Welcome to 92.3 FM. This is Pooja welcoming you on Real Estate Roundup with Nagaraj Anaya. Brought to you by the owner of nagarajhomes.com, your one-stop shop for all your real estate needs: buying, selling, refinancing, investing in real estate. Each week, we come here and shine the light on what's going on in Bay Area's crazy real estate market. And Nagaraj is your trusted Bay Area tech realtor who brings his insight and advice to bear. If you have any questions or concerns on how to find your way, then you can call us in the studio. Our number is 408-912-5038. Once again, our number for the studio is 408-912-5038. With that, I want to welcome Nagaraj Anaya. Hello, Nagaraj. How are you doing this afternoon?
Hello, Pooja. Hello, Bay Area. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday out there.
Yes.
It's a great day out, not sun out rarely, which we see in the Bay Area, but it's a good weather to enjoy. Today, we're going to talk about the Bay Area Real Estate Connect, which is happening on November 19th. And we are giving out the lucky listeners
Oh, wow.
tickets to Bay Area Real Estate Connect, which is happening on November 19th. Listeners, if you have any questions, do give us a call. We are live on a Bali 92.3. Anything on the real estate, it might be a concerning for you, or you want to buy a second house, or anything on the real estate is going on, do give us a call. We'll be talking more about the Bay Area Real Estate Connect as we progress on this show. First, let me talk about if there is a foundation issues in the house, what do we do? Like, for example, when you are about to buy a house and you look at the inspection reports given by a seller, right? There's a foundation issue. It's not uncommon in the older houses, which are like 60 years, 70 years older houses in the Bay Area, right, to have foundation issues, or like you see a cracks. What do we do in that case? Right. So there are two things what you can do about it is, like, basically anytime when you see a foundation issues, you need to talk to an expert, especially a foundation inspectors will be there who come and give their second opinion to, like, how safe is that house, like, and or how much cost would be there to fix up that house.
Okay.
Right, to know that it's very important, because anytime when you're putting an offer, not more normally during the offer process in the Bay Area is zero contingencies, right? Like, it's a seller's duty. Sometimes if they notice it, maybe they can give an additional report, right? If the seller is not giving an additional report, right, buyer can put in a contingency. Okay, the contingency can be a 3 days contingency or a 7 days contingency. Get a there are a couple of foundation companies which can come and give their opinion to fix it and what's the price it.
Okay.
Right, the horizontal cracks, or sometimes you should be very careful. That is, by getting an opinion, how bad is the cracks? Is it an easily fix, or like you need to put a jack and fix it, bring up the whole house? That cost is, you need to be basically figuring it out when you're buying in a house. That's why the second opinion, especially from the foundation inspectors or even the contractors who are good at going and checking inside it, right, it's very, very important. One of my client recently was trying to buy a house in Evergreen area. Right, they had seen the report from the seller saying that there is some concern on the, because it's a generic statement that normally the one of the inspectors they give it, so they might be not giving in a detailed report what is happening in, right? They just say it's in a vertical cracks or horizontal cracks or something like that. So when you need a detailed report, right, maybe a go get with an inspectors, figure out how much cost is there to fix that. That is very, very important. Listeners, if you have any questions, do give us a call on anything on the real estate today.
So we are live on Bollywood 92.3 FM with Nagaraj Anaya. He is talking about if you have any problems with your foundation or any questions related to real estate, if you are a first-time home buyer, you are looking to do an investment property, are you thinking to buy or sell the house? All those, there are some questions around all these things. So Nagaraj is here to answer all these questions. Our studio lines are also open right now. The number for studio is 408 912 5038. Once again, our studio number is open 408 912 5038. And he is also giving tickets to the listeners for Bay Area Real Estate Connect, which is on November 9th. Am I correct?
19th, November
19th.
19th.
That's all right.
November 19th on a Sunday. It is like 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. event. It's at the
Uh-huh.
speakers come on, experts come on, talk about it. Let me list out the speakers on that day. So which I have not given out until now. Let me give out the speakers who will be there on that day. It is like Acton Edu will be there. Acton Edu is in a company which basically talks about like remodeling or like addition of an ADUs, and we can be basically then an expert will be there from an Acton ADU basically talking about remodeling steps. All right, and basically they're expert on the ADUs, especially converting their garages, your garages into an ADU, and if you want to add an additional unit, right, like on the ADU stuff, what is the cost and everything, they're going to talk about it, right? And then we have an expert from a 1031, Ricardo Ran, is from a IPX 1031, who is going to talk about the 1031's process and what does it goes in for doing a 1031, right? And for the contractor wise, we have from an NTB area, and we have from Ivan will be coming out for the contractors, like they'll be talking about the remodeling tips and what are the stuffs you need to be watching out for the contractor stuffs. For the tax related, we have a Sanjeev Gupta who will be coming out and sharing about the all the informations about the tax related for when you're buying a house or another things, right? Like on the especially on the investment purpose. Okay.
Mhm.
And we have a Snehal Patil who will be coming and talking about a real estate planning, right? What are the pros and cons, what do you need to watch out for, right? You'll be talking about like why it is very very important to have in a real estate
Mhm.
planning related, right? Like, and then we have a Shweta Kandelwal confirmed for a green card. Basically she'll be talking about an EB1A and a EB5. Lot of tech people are like basically or they're in an H1B and they're like on a EB2 category, but where it's like going to take a 30 to 40 years to get even the green card, right? What are their alternatives, how they can get a green card faster through an EB1A or a EB5, right? Especially a EB1 as a 10 categories. In that 10 categories you need to pick a, basically as a tech expert, like you need to fit for a 3 criterias in that, right? The expert, especially Sweta Kandelwal, will be talking about how does the EB1A works and how does the EB5 works, right? So do visit like talk Sweta on that day, like talk to her. And Angelina is from the basically from the notary. She'll be talking about the notary related, why the notary is very very important, especially there's a lot of land scams are happening when you're buying a house, right? Or like when you're buying a lot, right? As a notary, what do you watch out for,
Mhm.
right? Why the notary plays very very important role, Angelina talks about. And there's a basically loan factory, and from Catherine from basically from Patelco, a lot of lenders will be there. They'll be talking about all the mortgage options for the first time home buyers, for the investors, how much down payment is involved, right? Like, and what are the process of buying a house, process like basically what are the loan options for them, right? They'll be
Mhm.
talking about. And we have an astrology expert, Dr. KVN Prasad, who will be coming about and talking about the vastu related stuffs. A lot of experts, industry experts will be there. We'll be talking about various subjects on the real estate, so that it will be helpful for you. It's, tickets are priced reasonable. To buy the tickets, go to a nagrajhomes.com. It says on Sunday 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. happening in Sunnyvale. Okay. Let me talk about the next step. For example, you guys are bought a just went into a contract, right? Like, what are the steps after go into a contract? Like a lot of listeners might be curious, like my offer got accepted, but what is the next step after going into a contract? So especially after going into a contract, depending on the contract terms, right? Like it might be 3 days, or a 1 day, based on the contract, we will be sending out an EMD. EMD is usually a 3% or a 5% of the EMD.
Mhm.
EMD is like earnest money deposit. That, yeah. Okay. So EMD is an earnest money deposit, is like basically this will help out to seller to basically, once you go into a contract, right? This is basically the percentage, 3% or a 5%. Usually it's a 3% of the purchase price we put. Sometimes in the contract we might be given a 5% or a 7%, right? It is basically more the EMD. It is basically sellers are like basically things the buyers are more motivated,
Mhm.
right? So you transfer the EMD, or it's called an earnest money deposit, to an escrow. How do we do it? Is through a wire transfer. Okay, escrow would be giving out the wire instructions to the buyer. Okay, the buyer would be transferring the EMD, earnest money deposit. Usually the earnest money they were, if you're doing in a wire transfer, should go on the same day, and again depends on what time you're transferring in it, right? Like if you're, it's like 3 p.m. is a cutoff time usually in the Pacific Standard Time, right? Like before that you need to transfer. If you do it, usually it's to the on the same day, the transfer wise. Okay, do watch out for that. What is the EMD? Look out in your purchase price, and based on that you do the EMD.
Mhm.
Once the EMD is transferred, right, parallelly you will be start working with the lender. Okay, before putting an offer, usually you should have gotten a pre-approval from a lender, right? You reach out to the lender and ask what is the rates for right now with that lender. Okay, and you can call out, usually this is where the most of the shopping for the interest rates goes out, right? Like you call multiple lenders and find out what are the rates on that day.
Mhm.
Correct. That's the process, like usually, because the rates for the different lenders vary on the different days and market conditions also, right? Like, so that is why you need to call out the multiple lenders and find out what is the rate options for them, and what is like, is it a 7.1 arm rates are better, or a 30-year fixed is better, right? It's all the loan terms are 30-year loan terms, but some of the lenders even give a 40-year loan terms.
Mhm.
Reach out, understand which lender is giving out better for you, and are they giving any credit towards a closing cost, or like are there, is a 0 points. Okay, so what is 0 points, especially when you're purchasing when you're doing a loan with the lender, right? Some lenders might charge you a 0.25% or a 0.5% of the purchase price to bring down the rate. Okay, for example, the standard is a 7%, they might charge you a 0.5% to bring down the rate, okay, to a 6.75. So that is why I call out the few lenders, understand with 0 points, especially because then your closing cost would not go up, right? So that's why watch out and understand what are their rate options. Listeners, if you're listening to it and if you have any questions, do give us a call. We are live on a Bali 92.3, and we are giving away tickets to Bay Area Real Estate
Yes,
Connect.
you connect. And to call Nagaraj, our studio number is 408-912-5038. Once again, the number is 408-912-5038. If you have any questions related to real estate, doesn't matter small or big question. I think if you are jumping into this market, there are a lot of questions, and I think with a lot of information out there in the market, it's very easy to get confused.
Correct.
So talk to Nagaraj. He has been in this market for a very long time and he has a lot of expertise. So do give us a call in the studio. And as he said, the lucky listeners will get a Bay Area Real Estate Connect tickets, which is happening on November 19th from 11 to 3 p.m. at Sunnyvale.
And recently, if you have bought a house and if you have any issues after you go into a contract and would you like to share, right? Like do give us a call and share with the listeners also, because it might be the same thing what others are going in through, right? Like this show is all about sharing your experience on the real estate. It might be it might not be a big question or a small question, right? Anything would you like to share about the real estate? You're more welcome to do it.
Nagaraj, when you said that,
Mhm.
so what I have heard is you can lock your interest rate
Yes.
before even going and making an offer to a.
There are few lenders, that's true.
Okay.
There are few lenders, once you have a pre-approval, right? They give you the rate. That is might be valued for a 1 month or a 2 or 3 months. Okay. Within that time frame, you need to be purchasing the house. Okay, so that's a better sometimes, because you're in a see last month itself, right? Like this month alone, it is like a 2 or 3 times a rate hike happened. Like it's basically went from 6.25 to a 6.75 APRs, and sometimes even going to a 7%. So it is like the rates have jumped so much in a less than a month, instead of going in an uncertainty, because the more the rate increases, your qualification to buy a house, right, like that goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to watch out for that. For example, you have bought it for 1.25 million per pre-approval with a
Mm-hmm.
6.25%, right? But your the rate's gone to a 7%, then your qualifications might go down. So you need to watch out for that one also. If you're especially your debt to income ratio, or like basically, let me tell you what is a debt to income ratio. For example, let's assume you buy it, you're making a 10,000 a month, right? You can borrow and money up to only $4,500 a month. Like it's a max of DTI. It's a max. This is what you can, 4,500 a month. Okay, that 4,500 a month should include your property taxes, your interest, what you pay in principal and interest, what you pay, any credit card payments, what you make. Everything should be included in that, right? Or a car payment also, right? That's a max you can do. You're in the verge of like 44% or 45%. If the rates have gone up, but you put an offer for a 1.2, right? Then your qualifications with that lender becomes in a hard. Then you need to look for a different lenders, especially you can qualify for a 59%. Correct. So that is why, depending on when you have gotten a pre-approval, so you need to make sure the rates have not changed much.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And do you can even though you get pre-approved
Mm.
and you were able to put an offer for a house, and you find out that there is another lender who is giving the interest rate, lower interest rate,
Yes.
how does that, like, what do you do in that situation?
See, if as I told you, right, as soon as your offer get accepted, you can call a multiple lenders and try to find out who is giving you a better rate. It is doesn't mean like you got a pre-approval from a one lender. It is not necessary to go with them after your offer got accepted. That's the norm in the industry. It is not like you're not tied up with the lender, because usually right now what is happening, as I told you, each lender's rates are changing depending on the market conditions and depending on the economy also. Some lenders were used to do a 10%, but recently they changed it, minimum is 20% down. So in that time, that your qualifications can't be met with that lender, right? So you need to be looking with the other lender who can help you out for a qualifications for your offer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's a common. It's not like nothing about that. Like you can call few lenders, especially if you have some connections around. Reach out to them. Even if your realtor might have some connections, do reach out to them. They can help you out with the lenders connection. So they can basically help give you a referral. So you can talk to the lenders and find out who is giving you better rates.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yeah.
because even a 0.25%, 0.5%, your monthly payment might go up. For a 1% is usually $600 to $700, depending on your current rates right now. So that is why if somebody is giving a lesser, better to go with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and one more thing, it's very, very important to know, it doesn't mean a pre-approval is got, you will qualify for like after your offer got accepted. If some scenarios have changed, for example, you used to make a 10,000 a month, but your income has gone down to 8,000 a month, right? It doesn't like, then your qualifications might go wrong and you
Yeah.
might not even qualify to buy a house. So that is why you need to make sure your scenarios or your circumstances, whatever you pre-qualified, is not changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Very important
That is
because
very, very important. For example, husband and wife is working, but you made a pre-qualification based on the husband and wife income, right? But wife lost a job.
yeah.
Correct. So you need to watch out for that, all that scenarios. Pre-approval doesn't guarantee for you to get a loan funded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So once you, as I was telling you, once the EMD is done, then you look for the lenders who goes for the better rate. Once you lock in with the lender, right? Then basically you share all the offer documents or the RPA and all the EMDs, whatever you basically give a connections to a escrow also. They get all the EMD receipt and everything from the escrow, the lender. Okay, then they get it, then lender will send basically an rate lock. They do a rate lock confirming that this is what the rate it is, and they send in a document to sign it, right? Once the buyer signs it, once the buyer signs it, then the lender, it's a called a pre-disclosures, right? Pre-disclosures, they will be telling you out like what is the in the pre-disclosures includes the closing cost and everything. Sometimes, most of the times, not sometimes, most of the times, the all the closing costs sometimes might be in higher end, because they would not have got the exact pricings from the escrow. For example, like who is paying the escrow fees, who is paying the uh, other fees, right? There are so many fees in that, like escrow fees and owner's title insurance policy, lender's title insurance policy, other fees is right, and even the county fees, county transfer tax fees, right? All these fees, uh, you might have written in the offer and it would have been negotiated. This is escrow based. Escrow basically takes the offer, right? And they will basically say seller pays this for and buyers pays this for. This
Mhm.
final cost would be basically done from the lender and send it out to escrow. To send it
Mhm.
out to escrow, it takes a time. So that is why the pre-disclosures, whatever is sent it from the lender, might not cover. Basically, it might be higher side. Okay,
Mhm.
so it is not need no need to panic on that, but it will just give you an idea overall all about.
Yeah.
Once you sign, lender orders for an appraisal.
Mhm.
Okay, the appraisal is like basically it's in a third party company who comes and checks out what is the value of their house. Like basically they do the recent comparables, they check the square footage, right? Is it a livable condition and everything? If the house is not livable condition, they put a note on that, and the lender, depending on the which lender are you working on, they might give you a loan or not a loan. So you need to watch out for that one also. And all the smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, everything should be installed when the appraiser went there. If it is not been installed, they can give you a notice. Basically, you need to be installing it before closing. So the appraiser needs to go and check if everything has been done properly. So
Mhm.
that is why it's a seller's duty usually to install this smoke alarms and the carbon monoxide detectors.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once the
So,
appraiser,
yeah, sorry, go
ma'am,
ahead.
once the appraiser generates a report based on the recent comparables and how the good the house is, they might say the value of the house. What is that value, right?
Mhm.
Like, so that value is given to the lender. If the value comes out same as the offer price, it's good. If the value comes down, so basically you need to be arranging the difference of that money. For example, let's assume it's a 1 million purchase price, but the value of the house came as a 950k came, right? So you'd be doing a 950k 10% or a 10 20%, depending on your requirements. Once
Mhm.
you get 10 or 20% down, then plus 50k you need to be arranging. That's a difference of the money.
Mhm.
Okay, so meanwhile when it is going in parallelly, there would be like underwriter would be reviewing your file. They might ask you for additional pay slips and everything. All the final checks would be done from the underwriter. Underwriter reviews even the appraisal report and everything. So once everything is fine, then the underwriter, if some conditions are there, they might give the buyer to meet some of the conditions. For example, generate a new pay slip. So if it's an end of the month, give the new pay slips whatever you got it, and they might go and verify with the your even the company where you are working in, you're still working in there.
Mhm.
Okay, so once this is done, then the underwriter confirms your file is okay, and then they say approved, right? Once the approved is done, then lender and escrow discuss together, and they send a files for closing. Basically they release a documents for a escrow, right? Once the documents has been loan documents has been released to escrow, once the escrow documents once the escrow receives the documents, they arrange for a signing. Okay, signing is done from the buyer, basically confirming whatever they've gone through until now is an e-signatures. They make sure everything is done through a wet signature through a notary. Okay,
Mhm.
even the seller also does the same thing. Once both the documents have been done, signed, the escrow receives the documents, escrow receives it, the remaining funds has been transferred from buyer to a escrow. Okay,
Mhm.
so once the buyer receives the money, then the lender transfers the remaining funds number to the escrow. All the money is been done, then the escrow releases the documents to the your county for registration. The
Mhm.
registration basically transfers your name from seller to a buyer. That is where the escrow sends out. The transfer is completed. That is where when you get a keys for your new house.
A long process, but I
It's
think with
not long process
empathy can
once you
take
work in,
it.
yeah. But once you're working with an experts, they might be able to explain you well so that it becomes your pros. That's where you need an expert to make sure to understand all these steps. Pooja, we have just 2 minutes. Let me talk
Yes.
about the Real Estate Connect, which is happening on November 19th. Okay. It's in happening in Sunnyvale. It's a one-stop solution for all your real estate needs, where the experts would be coming out on talking about anything about the real estate, starting from 1031, remodeling, immigration, notary, loans. What do you like? It's covered all the topics related to around the real estate, because for me immigration is also related to real estate, because if somebody wants to invest it, they might have a concerns like what happens to my green card if I lose my job, what do I do, how do I sell my house, right? So what happens to that? So that is why a lot of maybe confused to buy a house also, but in this case when you talk to an expert, they might help you out on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just have a minute left, and
Yes.
I just want to give some information about Nag.
Yeah, to register, go to
Yeah.
the nagarajhomes.com, use a Bolly or a visual loop coupon code to promo code to register it. You get a 50%. The tickets are priced nominally, and it is running out fast. Do register before it sells out.
Yeah. So for that, make sure you go to nagarajhomes.com. And if you have any questions after the show, you can call Nagaraj. His phone number is 408-805-4653. Once again, the number is 408-805-4653. Thank you, listeners, for coming and listening to us. Please keep listening and have a nice Sunday.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Have
Bye-bye.
a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Real Estate